how do you approach hiring seasonal workers, especially in a competitive labor market like landscaping?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So seasonal workers is a stopgap measure. And the difficulty is that when this fall comes, September, October, November, you end up with a shortage of staff. And so, ideally, if we could hire, we'd want to hire. So when you say seasonal, there's like seasonal, they don't work in the winter, and then there's seasonal, as in sort of students or summer people. Hopefully you're doing something to cover the costs of those people, or you're paying enough for the people not to actually do anything, or you're doing snow removal or renovations or some other work, especially here in the northern climates. The further south you go, like even when you get down to Pennsylvania, companies maybe take a month off in the winter, month and a half, so it's not that long. And the further north you go, it can be almost like 4 or 5 months off. So there's all kinds of interesting HR programs that you can look into, government programs to help you with that as well, in terms of keeping your labor topped up so that they don't leave you because there's not enough work. Most people want to work consistently for 11 months of the year, I would say, for sure. And it's very hard to keep staff if you don't have them employed year round. You'll have massive turnover, and that's tough to try and scale your business that way.
And what do you think of like an approach where, let's say an employee works for you for 9 months, but they're on like a 12-month salary and they get their 2,000 hours in 9 months? Like, what do you think about that approach?
The problem is that a lot of those people still want to work. So it's not about the money, it's about they want to work, they want to be occupied. So if they're doing nothing, they're idle, and then they find something else to do and then they don't come back. That's really what the problem is.
So you have to basically figure out ways to keep them busy year round.
I don't even like the word busy. Somehow at least break even so they cover their cost. I think that's the secret. So if you're a business and you're working 8 months of the year, and for 4 months of the year, if you can at least not lose money or lose less money, at Oriel, we had years where we're going into the spring, we're $400,000, $500,000 negative in terms of profit. Because we're just burning money. Our overhead is eating everything up and there's no revenue to offset it for that period of time. That's very painful. So, we have different strategies for that. We bought a house to keep guys busy, and, we'll see whether the house sells or not. These are different strategies. So again, for the smaller business, it's much, much tougher to build an incredible team that is going to keep doing stuff. So some companies, again, renovations, those types of things, basement renovations, whatever you can do to, even if you're breaking even on your staff, you don't need to make a profit. It's just make sure you don't lose your key people.
Yeah. And so this is kind of related to the next question. What strategies have you used to make sure that you retain top talent in a physically demanding field like landscaping?
So what strategy have we used? Well, we pay more than everybody else. So, no one steals our staff. That's rule number one. No one steals our staff. We have work that is very fulfilling. So the work that we do are nice projects. They're not unsatisfying projects. So I think there's some pride in the workmanship. And then we try and build teams where everybody gets along. That's not always that easy. So if you can build teams that get along, and people that can fill a role beautifully in your business, is like building a sports team. Really, that's what we're doing. We're building a sports team, and we're trying to figure out how to get all the players to play the right way together.
Yeah, so it's way more than just salary. It's actually like culture and brand that really makes people loyal. Yeah. So I work for this company. There's some pride there. Look at that project that I did or we did. I prefer the word we. That pride is huge, right? So what are you doing to engage your employees? I think is a big part of it. Having great equipment, so you're not sending them out with suboptimal equipment to do work, or suffering doing hand work when they could use machines to do the work. Those are all big pluses. Okay, so you found that machines are actually a helpful retention strategy for key staff. Yeah,
so whether it's a vacuum to lift pavers, whether it's
an excavator with a rotating thumb, whether it's you know, a machine that can lift a lot so you don't have to hand bomb, you know, those things all make a big difference. And ironically, the cost of equipment is incredibly low when you actually do the math.
And do most landscapers struggle with doing the math properly to understand that?
Yeah, they're typically under-equipped, or they have a whole bunch of old crap, essentially, which doesn't help their HR situation. So, yeah, most companies that I coach, we're focusing on having the least people and the most equipment, for sure, the best equipment.
And how do you make the calculations properly? Like, where do you even start for that?
So what's hilarious, if you look at your financials, you'll see that most companies are spending less than 15% of their total revenue. So for every dollar, 15 cents is going to equipment. That means fuel, depreciation, insurance, licensing. And so it's actually a very low cost compared to labor. And the difference is that you see this money coming out of your bank account. I got to make a payment. Well, you're doing the same thing with your employees. So really, it's about doing some math to show that it's actually going to make you more money on a budget. And then the other part of it also is to recognize that if something bad happened, you can sell that a piece of equipment pretty easily. You know, so it's really very low risk, and most people are just not. They just don't think that way. It's ironic that they take the biggest risk of all of being in business, and then they don't do the risks that they should take on the HR side, which is getting rid of bad employees, getting rid of bad equipment, too much equipment, that type of stuff. So it's really mindset. And so there's a gentleman called Naval, and he said it's ironic that, you know, if I said to you, you need to do this, you need to fire this person, and you don't do it, you're naturally not going to do it. You actually have to double down on doing what you don't want to do. And that's how you get ahead. So there's very few people that actually have the ability to go and just do it, no matter how uncomfortable it is. So it's easier for some people than others. I have some people that have no problem doing it. They're going to get ahead really quick because they just make the hard choices so fast. The ones that are struggling with that, their businesses struggle. And, you know, so it requires a push sometimes. Sometimes that's what's required to get them to make a promise. So we have an exercise that this really helps hold people accountable. You look the person in the eye and say, does this need to be done? Yes, it does. Okay, let's shake hands that we're going to make this decision together, and we're going to execute it by this time period. And ideally, if you can bring somebody in your company in to make that commitment, it's like getting married. You're essentially making a vow to do something. So then you're going to let yourself down, and then you're going to let someone else down if you don't do it. And so, you know, there are some techniques to bring out that leader in you that's missing.
Mm-hmm. Making the hard choices.
Hard choices, yeah. And, you know, it really is, that wealthy mindset is so uncommon. It's unbelievable. Hey, I hope you liked the video. Videos like this help entrepreneurs make those hard choices. Hopefully they're inspirational, and they'll get leaders to step up and do the right thing. Doing the right thing's tough. We're there to help you. We've been through this journey for 40 years in our own businesses, and we know what it's like. So if you need help, click the link below, and we'd love to get in touch with you.